Justice wrote a little note to Martin Luther King Jr. about his dilemma, and then his friend found out he was going back to that nasty relationship, the toxic relationship. So thankfully, his friends got some resources that could help him understand what he's doing. So in chapter 3, Justice has a lot on his mind as he steps into his societal evolution class on Tuesday. For one, yesterday, a Nevada grand jury didn't return an indictment on the cop who killed Shamar Carson. Since being arrested, Justice had spent all his free time following the case. And now, it's just over. Speaking of cops and arrests, yesterday, Justice also learned that the cop, Manny's cousin, confessed to shooting was none other than Tomas Castillo. What Just can't get over is that he knows Manny's cousin. His name was Quan Banks, and he lives in Justice's mom's neighborhood. Quan's a year younger than Justice, and they played together back when the only thing that mattered was staying outside until the street lights came on. Like Justice, Quan tested into the Accelerating Learners Program in 3rd grade. But when elementary ended, Quan started running with a not-so-great crowd. When Quan found out Justice was headed to Bras Prep, he mentioned a cousin who went there, but just never put 2 and 2 together, and now Quan's in jail. Justice can't stop thinking about it. Yeah, Castillo was a rascal, but did he deserve to die? And what about Quan? What if they give him the death penalty? What if Castillo had killed Just, though? Would he have ever been indicted? So that was the cop that, accused Just of hurting that girl, right? Yeah, well, that was crazy. Sorry, I'm a little slow. Come here for a sec, Just, Doc says, as Justice drops his backpack on the floor beside his seat. Dr. Jairus Doc Dre is the debate team advisor and Justice's favorite teacher at Bras Prep. He's the only half black guy Just knows with a PhD. And Just looks up to him, really looks up to him. How you holding up, my man? Doc says. Been better, Doc. Doc nods and narrows his green eyes. Figured as much, he says. I'm going to let you know today's discussion might hit a nerve. Feel free to sit it out. You can leave the room if need be. All right. Just then, Manny comes into the room with Jared Christensen at his heels. Justice isn't really fond of Jared, or any of Manny's other friends for that matter, but he knows they've all been tight since kindergarten, so he tries to keep a lid on it. What's up, Doc? Jared crows as he crosses the room to his seat. Oh, goodness, Jared, sit down somewhere. That would be Sarah Jane Friedman, lacrosse captain. Get this squared up here. Future valedictorian and Justice's debate partner since sophomore year. Aw, SJ, I love you too, Jared says. SJ glares at him and pretends to shove a finger down her throat as she approaches the seat to Justice's left. It makes him laugh. The rest of the class trickles in, and the moment the bell rings, Doc pushes the door shut and claps his hand to begin class. Morning, peeps. Class. Multiple grunts, waves, and nods. Doc, let's all get started, shall we? Discussion prompt of the day. He makes a few taps on his laptop, and the words, all men, are created equal appears on the classroom digital chalkboard. Doc, who can tell me the origin of this statement? Jared, United States Declaration of Independence, ratified July 4th, 1776. Smiles smugly and crosses his arms. Doc, correct, Mr. Christensen. 12 of the 13 colonies voted in favor of severing all ties to the British throne. The document known as the Declaration of Independence was written into being, and to this day, one of the most oft-quoted lines of said document is what you see there on the board. Everyone nods. Doc, now, when we use our 21st century minds to examine the quote within its historical context, something about it isn't quite right. Can anyone explain what I mean? Everyone. Crickets. Doc, oh, come on, y'all. You don't see anything odd about these guys in particular making a statement about the inherent equality of men? Well, these are the same guys who killed off the indigenous peoples and owned slaves. Doc, indeed they were. Jared, but it was different then. Neither slaves nor Indians, justice. Native Americans or American Indians, if you can't name the tribe, homie. Jared, whatever. Point is, neither were really considered men. That's exactly my point, Mr. Christensen. So here's the question. What does the obvious change of the application of the phrase from 1776 to now tell us about how our society has evolved? Extended pause as he adds the question to the digital chalkboard beneath the quote and the scrape of a chair as he takes his regular seat in the circle. Jared. Well, for one, people of African descent are obviously included in the application of the quote now. So are Native American Indians. Justice clenches jaw. Jared. And women. Women were originally excluded, but now things are more equal for them, too. S.J. snorts. Still not equal enough. Doc. Expound, if you will, Miss Friedman. S.J. It's simple. Women still aren't treated as men's equals, especially by men. Jared rolls his eyes. Sorry, I thought it was folded enough that it wouldn't flop over. I'm sorry. If I can get it to... There we go. Okay. Doc, okay, so there's women's rights. Any other areas where you guys feel like we haven't quite reached the equality bar? Everyone. ... Doc, feel free to consider the current events. S.J., you would make a terrible lawyer, Doc. Everyone laughed nervously. Doc, I know y'all know what I'm getting at here. Manny, I mean we do. But do you really want to go there, Doc? Doc, hey, this school prides itself on open dialogue, so let's hear it. Everyone. ... I must mean no reply, right? I'll come right out with it then. Do you guys feel we've achieved full equality with regards to race? Everyone, no response. Come on, guys, this is a safe place. Nothing said here today leaves this room, even though it's written down in the book, right? Okay, I'll bite. In my opinion, yes, we have reached full equality when it comes to race. Doc, expound, please. Jared, anyone born here is a citizen with full rights. There are people who claim certain injustices, are race-related, but if you ask me, they're just being divisive. Justice inhales deeply and rubs his wrist. America is a pretty colorblind place now. S.J., of course you would say that. Manny, oh boy. S.J., it never ceases to amaze me that guys like you have your heads in the clouds. Sarah Jane, it's just you're completely oblivious to the struggles of anyone outside your little social group. Jerry, whatever, S.J. S.J., I'm serious. What about the economic disparities? What about the fact that proportionally speaking, there are more people of color living in poverty than white people? Have you ever thought about that? Jared, dude, Manny drives a Range Rover. Manny, what's that have to do with anything? Jared, no beef, dude. I'm just saying that your folks make way more money than mine. Manny, okay, they worked really hard to get where they are, so. Jared, I'm not saying they didn't, dude. You just proved my point. Black people have the same opportunities as white people in this country if they're willing to work hard enough. Manny's parents are a perfect example. S.J., seriously? You really think one example proves things are equal? What about Justice? His mom works 60 hours a week, but she doesn't make a tenth of what your dad makes. Justice, S, chill with that man. S.J., sorry, Jess. What I'm saying is Manny's parents are an exception. Have you not noticed there are only 8 black kids in our whole school? Jared, well, maybe if more people were like Manny's parents, that wouldn't be the case. Justice takes another deep breath. S.J., okay, so you're saying people just need to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. Jared, exactly. S.J., in order to do that, they have to be able to afford boots. Manny, dang, point for S.J. Whatever, says Jared. There are people on welfare strutting around in Air Jordans, so there's obviously some footwear money coming from somewhere. And don't get all high and mighty, S.J. Your ancestors owned slaves just like mine did. S.J. Wrong. Doc, Miss Friedman. Sorry, Doc. As I was saying, my great-grandparents immigrated to this country from Poland after narrowly escaping, I don't know how to say that.
Up to where?
Chelmno.
Chelmno.
Chelmno? Okay, thank you. What's that?
Chelmo. It's Chelmo.
Okay. Have you heard of it?
I've been there.
Oh, good for you. Well, I will talk more about it tomorrow.